have the greatest job in the world, and that's working with dogs.
Best in Show winner is the French Bulldog.
Winston won the National Dog Show. It was amazing. It was exciting. And to have a dog to be #1 dog in this country, you have to have great nutrition. And I always fed Pro Plan. Just like us, when we eat well, we feel good. And I just love that food and what it's done all these years to all the dogs I've bred and all the dogs I've shown.
Welcome to Pure Dog Talk. I am so excited, you guys. We have the coolest guest for us today. We're going to be talking to Bev Klingensmith, and she is the owner of a Great Dane with the coolest name in the world, Bing. Yes, just like my dog Bing. And Bing is the canine star of a new movie called The Friend. And Bing is Bev's dog. She owns him. She bred him. She trained him to be in a movie. And Bing is champion Flighty Foto White Christmas with lots of CDRA, all kinds of cool things that go with it. And I mean, I'm so excited. We get to talk to a movie star. Well, the movie star's tomorrow. But you know. It's not an everyday thing here on Pure Dog Talk that we get movie stars. So welcome, Bev. How are you doing today?
I am good. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm just thrilled. This is great. So give us a little tiny 411 kind of how you got into dogs, how you got into Great Danes, how you got into a Great Dane in a movie. Like let's have a little backgrounder here.
Well, I got my first Great Dane back in the mid 90s, not a well-bred one. And then after that, I started getting involved with some clubs, and that kind of got me pointed in a better direction.
Yes.
I started training. I got involved in the Great Dane Club of Des Moines. And then I got my first well-bred Great Dane, in the late 90s, my first show dog. I think I chose Danes originally because of their size, which as much as I love their giantness is probably about their only deterrent to me these days. You know, you watch the people with the little dogs carry the dog in the crate, to the show, and I'm lugging my giant crate around or whatever, rethinking life choices. But, I do love the breed. They're sweet, they're silly, they're goofy, they're just so soft. I love that about them. They're definitely my heart. And yeah, so Bing is my 4th generation. Very, very happy with him. He has a fantastic temperament, very biddable dog. All my dogs have been easy to train, but he by far is the easiest to train. Right. And I have, so many people along the way that help me get where I am. And, all the people involved in the pedigree behind Bing, all the, mentors and the people that I've worked with over the years. I appreciate each and every one of my friends in the breed and dog people in general, and all the training people that I met along the way that helped me learn how to train dogs. Right. I'm active at an obedience club here in central Iowa.
Okay.
So I enjoy teaching and taking classes and, all that kind of fun stuff.
I mean, Great Danes just don't jump out and say, hey, I'm an obedient superstar. I'm sorry, but they just don't, man.
Right. And a lot of people do think that. Surprisingly, yeah, here he is.
I was going to say, I think we just we were graced by greatness.
Yeah, he came to lay down by me. I find Great Danes very fun and easy to train. Their size can make, obviously some of the exercises a bit more challenging, or you have to kind of figure out different ways to do some things. Mm-hmm. But they are eager to please, and they're not, none of mine have ever been couch potatoes. So they have that going for them where they need something to do.
Right.
Especially this guy, he definitely needs, he'll be 7 in a week or two, couple weeks. And he hasn't slowed down, which is very common for my dog.
I was just going to say 7-year-old Great Dane. Now that is not like just saying a thing. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. He's in great health and, awesome. Knock on wood and everything. Yeah. But yeah, having a task to do is always good for him. Mm-hmm. So it's been helpful to do training and, sure. We do plenty of running and, fun things like that outside and playtime too, but training is a good outlet.
Good for their brains. Good for their brains. 100%. Yes. So, okay. So you live in Iowa. It's not like
Mhm.
you're in the lap of LA in Tinseltown. How in the heck did you and Bing wind up in a big Hollywood production?
So I was not seeking it out at all. The production company actually sent an email to me,
Oh,
back in January of 2020.
oh my gosh.
Um, when I first got the email, I deleted it. Um, not people. I've told that story, and people ask if I thought it was a scam or
Yeah,
fake, and I'm like,
right.
no, I just didn't think it was realistic for me. They're talking of filming in New York.
Mm,
I live in Iowa. And then I was like, I do have lots of friends on the East Coast with Danes. Maybe I can help point them in the right direction, give them some contacts at least. And
right.
so that was really my only initial reason to reach back out. But then I started talking to them, and I realized that it was a really neat project, and I learned a lot more about it. And the movie is based on a book by the same name by Sigrid Nunez, a wonderful human being. Um, and the book, it's specifically a Harlequin Great Dane, still intact,
Oh,
cropped ears, very,
right,
very specific.
right.
So in addition to the aesthetics of
Sure,
the dog had to have the right training and temperament too.
sure.
And so they had started their search. They had a head trainer hired, and they were working with him, and they'd started a search on the East Coast, and they were, talking to lots of people. They were looking at lots of photos. They had met lots and lots of dogs by this point, and they hadn't found the right dog. And so they kept kind of expanding their search. Hence the reason they got out to us in the Midwest. Um, and so I thought, okay, I will go ahead and submit Bing's photos for consideration.
Sure.
So I submitted his photos, and they liked him well enough from the photos
Mm.
to fly out and meet us. So the two directors and the head trainer flew out and met us in like late January of 2020.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
This has been
yeah,
going on. This isn't like
yeah.
a quick hit, man.
No, no.
Wow.
I was not sure it was going to actually ever happen. Um, yeah, and so after they were here, it was like a week or two went by, and I thought, well, maybe they decided, to pick a different dog, and I hadn't heard anything. But then they reached back out, and they told me that they did want Bing. And then later they shared with me that they knew right away that they wanted him. I'm like, oh man, I'm sitting there on pins and needles for, a couple weeks or whatever. But and then it was going to get started, but then of course 2020,
Yeah.
COVID shut
Yeah.
down the world.
Yeah.
Um, and then all sorts of schedule delays, actor strikes, writer strikes,
Mm.
scheduling issues, just all sorts of almost comical delays. I mean, I would tell people, I couldn't broadcast it on social media, but I would talk about it to my friends, and I would tell people, I'm like, I'm pretty sure people think I'm making it up at this point. I'm gonna film this movie. It's gonna be in July, no November, no February. And it just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. I was hoarding. I have a normal 9 to 5 job in technology, and I was hoarding my PTO to try to accommodate this.
Right.
And I was getting kind of old, and I was like, oh, maybe like the late fall of 2023, I was beginning to think it was not going to happen.
Right.
Bing had finished his championship in that time frame. He was only about 18 months old when
Yeah.
it's about 18 months old when they first cast him. So he finished his championship and did some other titles, and it's like, well, maybe we should think about neutering him, and all these things. And but then and he had to still be intact, of course, for the movie. So then finally in late fall of 2023, it started shaping up, again, and you're like, let's hope it really comes to fruition this time. And sure enough, it did. So we drove out to New York in January of 2024.
Wow.
Spent the first few weeks actually working with Naomi directly in her home, getting Bing comfortable with her, and him and her comfortable with him.
And so
He's bigger than
Naomi who?
Naomi Watts. Hmm.
Okay, is that the star of the show that
Yes.
he's to be her
Yeah.
dog? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So the movie stars Bill Murray and Naomi Watts, are two main characters, and there's a lot of other actual notable
Mm.
cast. Ann Dowd from *Handmaid's Tale*,
Ah.
Felix Solis from Ozark,
Mhm.
lots of other really cool people in
Right.
it too. But
And so what's the
yeah,
storyline? Like, tell us the quick, I mean, like, snippet preview trailer version of of the story.
um, Yeah, so it's a story. The concept is so Bill Murray's character actually dies. He does commit suicide, and that's known
Mm,
pretty early on. And I mean,
mm,
he's actually, yeah, that's kind of known right away.
yeah.
And Naomi Watts's character is his best friend.
Oh,
Bill has his name called Walter's. Walter is his character's name. Walter has multiple ex-wives and a current wife, but this giant dog of Walter's
uh,
he bequeaths to Naomi Watts, who's his best friend.
got it.
And she's kind of left stunned. She's already reeling from the loss of her, dear friend and mentor. And then he leaves her this giant dog. She lives in a tiny rent-controlled apartment in New York.
Okay,
Um,
it's a good story. I like this.
yeah,
I like this. It's got a
yeah,
lot of
she's
potential.
not prepared to take the dog, does not
Right.
want the dog. And so it's a story of grief and healing. The dog is grieving for his,
Mhm.
lost master. So
Mm.
they're kind of grieving together, and it's beautifully done. I mean, the directors, Scott and David, they actually adapted Sigrid's book themselves, so they're
Mhm.
the screenplay
Mhm.
writers. And then they handle all, and I mean the book does as well, but they handle all those delicate topics
Mhm.
very well.
Nice.
They're tough topics, but they handle them well. So definitely kudos to them for that. Yeah,
That is,
it is.
and is this slated for release out soon?
It came out in theaters starting on nationwide on April 4th.
Okay, so this is
So it
out
was
there.
it
You
was
can go watch this movie.
It's actually out of most theaters by now. It is, and then of course in today's world, things jump very fast
Streaming.
to
Yeah,
streaming. So it's actually on streaming. It's available on streaming now.
awesome. And tell me, I mean, we all know the expected. There's a purebred dog in a movie freak out, from 101 Dalmatians to Beethoven to, the one with Tom Hanks and the dog de Bordeaux, right? Like
Mhm.
there's always a freak out. How has the Great Dane community handled this? What kind of things have you put in place, right? To deal with, I must have a Harlequin Great Dane in my rent controlled apartment in New York City. Me too. I too must have this.
Everybody should know.
No.
um, yeah, exactly. No. That's a great question, and it's definitely one that has concerned a lot of people, and rightfully so, because we have seen that pattern so many times.
Sure.
It is concerning. Um, I worked with the production team, and we put a piece in the credits encouraging folks. We pointed them to the Great Dane Club of America's website
Awesome.
for breed education, referrals, rescue contacts. I have worked with a few rescues on trying to for fundraising things, and
Sure.
kind of however I can support in that way. I definitely want to.
Mhm.
I have put out several messages myself in regards to, owning a Great Dane. I've done several, which it feels like you reach so many people, but it's just a drop in the bucket, I know. But we've done so many like Q&A events and things like
Sure.
that. That is one of the things I always hit on is Great Danes are not for everyone.
Right.
They are not the couch potatoes. They are, they're giant, their expenses are giant. And
Their
then
poop
if
is
you
giant,
and if you choose to get a Great Dane, where you get the Great Dane is so important.
Oh,
It's not just selecting the right breed for your home, it's also selecting where to get that dog. And that's
right.
almost more important than selecting the right breed. And that's been a huge stress, a statement that I've been trying to make over and over to the public. And fingers crossed that the message gets out there.
Trupanion is revolutionizing medical insurance for pets by providing the best possible experience to our members. And it's not some space-age dream. It's happening now. We pay your veterinarian directly while you're checking out, and we're the only ones who can, which means you have decisions in seconds, and you don't have to wait for reimbursement. So unlike with other providers, you'll keep more money in your pocket. Ask your veterinarian if Trupanion can pay them directly, because there's pet insurance, and then there's Trupanion.
I think it's such a great opportunity. I mean, let's flip what is it? Make lemonade out of lemons, right? Flip it on its head. What a great opportunity to reach people with a message of purebred dogs are great. This is why purebred dogs are great. This might not be the purebred dog for you, but let me introduce you to the concept and why that's a cool concept. And I wonder how you think that might be able to be something that you can be like an avatar for.
Absolutely. I mean, I've done interviews even with AKC. And, one of the things I like to point out, and not because I'm trying to brag, but, he is a champion. He's purposely bred, carefully bred, thoughtfully bred with generations of all the same behind him. That none of that is happen chance. His temperament, his behavior, none of it is happen chance. Right. And I try to stress that to people, as much as I can, just because, like we're talking about, that where you get your dog is so important. And if you have that focus on, those things, and you're not going to get that from maybe a well-meaning, I tell people a lot, ignorance and apathy, they're both really bad traits to have in a breeder. Yeah. I might love my dog.
I love that.
It's so true, because I can love my dogs and take really good care of my dogs, but if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm still going to be a bad breeder. Unintentionally, but I am going to be. And that's just as damaging as the breeders that don't care.
Yeah. You are not wrong. You are absolutely not wrong. And I love that that statement, just plain and simple. And I think, people want what they want when they want it. And so I think part of the problem that we run into is not just, I want a Great Dane to be in my apartment, but I want it yesterday.
Yep.
Right. And
absolutely.
So therein lies where I see people having concerns about something like this, right? Like, what are some of the ways that you have used and that we can take forward when we're talking about our own dogs or what have you, to talk about the idea that, no, you don't need it yesterday. You need it good. Right? Like, what's that construction thing? I can make it good. I can make it fast, or I can make it cheap, but I can only do 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's truth to that, right? I mean, it's hard because in reality, we will never get 100% of the population to agree with us.
No.
It isn't going to happen. So I guess I feel we reach who we can reach, and we keep trying, because most of us were once on that other side. When I decided I wanted my first purebred dog, at the time, my 90s, I looked in the newspaper, found the first ad, and, that's how you found a dog. Right. And, there's so much more information available to people now, but you have to know to go look for it. And so many people don't. So I think it's everybody's kind of, and I hate to say responsibility, but in a way it really is, to encourage that and to continue with that message of, that there is, there's not, people think show breeder, I just want a pet, I don't need to, go get a dog from a show breeder. But I'm like, you realize that, most of the puppies in any show breeder's litter are probably just going to be not couch potatoes, but just, warming up somebody's couch, right? They're going to be their just beloved pet. They're not going to go do conformation or whatever. They're just going to be that beloved pet.
But they'll be properly bred, properly raised, health tested, socialized, and they will make the family companion that you actually want.
Correct.
Instead of you having to change your entire life into a what kind of prison, so that you're 180-pound badly bred Great Dane doesn't rip the walls down.
Exactly. I'm like, there's so, and I feel bad. You talk to so many people that, their dogs are dealing with all of these horrible things, from temperament to health. And, it's nature. We obviously cannot 100% control that. Nope. There is no guarantee.
Mother Nature's a bitch, kids. We know this.
Let's stack
say
the odds
on my podcast.
Yes, no. Let's stack the odds in our favor, right?
Yeah,
but that's
100%.
I try to convince people, and I spend a lot of time trying to educate, and hoping the message gets heard. And it's always heartwarming when it helps somebody.
Yeah,
so
100%. And you are in just a particularly unique and fantastic opportunity, right? Because of the movie. So I think that is particularly set you out onto this pedestal and say, hey, listen to me. This is what I'm talking about. This dog is a really great movie dog because boom.
Right?
So what
Yeah.
were some of his tricks or things that he had to do for the movie? Did you do most of the training on
All
set?
of his training.
Oh my gosh.
All
Even
of it.
on
Yep.
set, not just his
Yep. Yep.
foundations.
Yep.
Wow.
100%. Yep. I
That
try him
is
every
really
behavior.
cool. I
Yeah.
did not realize that. Talk to me about that.
Yep. Yeah, so they had a head trainer hired, Bill Berloni, and so just like anything else in like the film industry, it takes a village. So we had an entire dog team of people, and we had a backup dog. Steph Kelly's wonderful dog Wilder was with us every step of the way. He wasn't used on camera, but he was there.
Right.
And it was, there was this whole team of people that helped with everything, all these details. And, I obviously, well, maybe not obviously, I had no experience with this. I've done obedience with my Danes for a long time. So I've done like local commercials, nothing to this scale at all. So it was all new to me. So that's where like Berloni would come in, because he had that experience in this world, that he was able to give guidance, but it was me doing the training.
So I need you to teach him how to go to that door and bark. And this is how you do that.
Yep. And Bing had most of the behaviors needed. The directors, it was very important to them not to have this artificial CGI type of dog that was doing, things that aren't realistic.
Sure.
So he's really just doing dog things in the movie. That said, that's still difficult to accomplish from a training perspective, because he's doing all those dog things from a continuity perspective. If the dog is laying down, he has to lay down in that same exact position for how many ever takes and however long it is. And you have to be able to put him back in there, and he has to be able to stay.
And he has to have the sanity and the mental stability to do grifts and lifts and lamps and lights and cameras and action. And I mean, that is so much for most dogs.
People in his space, constantly people in his space, and the craziness we filmed in New York. So the craziness of being in New York, and he took everything in stride. I am so incredibly proud, because he just everything he just took in stride. It was awesome. So yeah, a lot of the behaviors were things like the stay positions were very important, walking on a loose lead. And then kind of controlling like his pace. He was supposed to be very depressed throughout the film. So a lot of times they would want him to walk very slow. He has a command that I taught him when he was pretty young. And when I first started teaching him the down command, he just instantly, he would go down with his head clear down, flat on the ground. And so he'd always put his face down on the ground. And so I capitalized on that when it was adorable. And I'm like, I need to teach that to be a command. And so it's his pancake. And he does it all on his own quite often, but he will pancake on just about any surface, a tabletop, a chair, or the floor. And so I can teach him his head up or head down position. And that was a huge win from a filming perspective, because if he could keep his head in place and just move his eyes, you got so much expression. And they utilized me for his eye line. So wherever his eyes are looking, they're just moving me around. They're like, go over here, come over here. And that would take advantage of that. But he did have to learn a few behaviors. His most challenging, he is not a retriever. And he had to carry something in his mouth. That was and I have not gone to that level before in obedience, so I was not familiar with teaching carries. Yeah, we worked on that one for a very long time, and we actually didn't get the ability to take a step while carrying it until the weekend before we filmed that scene, which was like the last week of filming. I mean, we got it to the wire.
I've taught a lot of dogs to retrieve, and I'm just having a mental meltdown right now.
Yeah, I was very thankful. I had friends here that were giving me pointers on how to do, that, fortunately. And he did get it. It's not one of his favorite commands to do, but he will hold something in his mouth and he'll take some steps with it. So that was one. I also had to teach him to scratch on a door. He had never done something like that. So I actually had to teach my dog to paw at a door. He learned
we
that.
all tell our dogs not to do that.
Correct. He learned it really quick, and we didn't work on that one very much. And then there was a lot of kind of situational not really the behavior itself wasn't new, but maybe kind of how we executed it was new. He has to like walk around Naomi when she's on the floor. And so I capitalized, in obedience, you do an around to get to the heel position. Right. I capitalized on the around. There's a scene where he walks like the cement retaining wall. And it was the directors, we were filming on a beach, and they were like, Bev, do you think you would, walk this wall and sit at the end? And I'm like, we can try. He nailed it on the practice take and did it every single time. I'm like, oh, dude, perfect. You're amazing. Yeah. And there was a lot of things like that. It was just very serendipitous sometimes. It was like almost eerie how well he did with some of those behaviors.
Wow. That is so cool, though.
Yeah, it was really, really neat. There's another one where there was a hole in a screen at the beach house, and they're like, would he put his face through that and look out? We can try. We worked on it for maybe 5 minutes, and he got it, and we were able to do that. I'm like, and I had to be far enough away. I mean, that's right. A lot of it too, is distance between the dog and sitting on a cue, walking towards me and sitting on cue, and listening, hand signals versus voice commands sometimes, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, again, Bing is he's incredibly biddable, and he really loves to work. He really enjoyed it. Like, he loved the active behaviors. He loved trying to figure out what we were what I wanted him to do and how to do it. And, you can just see the wheels turning, and he's like, you want me to do this? You want me to paw at this? You want me to, he offers the behavior,
sure.
One of
offers the behavior. Like, what about this one? Does this look cute?
Yeah. And then you get it. And he's like, cool, I got it. All right. And he loved it. And it did help. We had, for his onset treats, we used steak and chicken.
Oh,
so he was,
he was really into that. You work for steak. Will work for steak is a thing.
Correct. Yep, exactly.
Oh my God. So what was your favorite part? Like meeting the people, being involved in the industry for a second? Like, what was the most fun for you?
Oh, all of it. It was really neat to see all of the behind the scenes and to see how it all, we all have a little clue of how it works, right? Sure. But to like intimately be involved in that and to be such a critical piece of it. Not only did I get to be involved, I was like a main character, and by extension, it was always, and that was just amazing. And the people we met were incredible. All of the cast and crew, so many crew members, and it's sad to me sometimes. I do live in Iowa and so far away, because I met so many wonderful people that, most of them live in the New York area.
Sure.
But yeah, all of the wonderful people, it was so awesome. And then, we met, oh gosh, we've done film festivals and promotion for the film, and we've met in a ton of celebrities. Through that, Demi Moore, Angelina Jolie, Mark Hamill,
all the cool
Will
people.
Ferrell. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. And I'm like, I have all these pictures of being with all these really neat people, and I'm like, this is so crazy. Like,
this scrapbook is cool.
I know. All these people are so excited to see my dog.
Oh my God, I love that. Well, and you get to be the only dog in the room. Right? Not only are you the biggest dog in the room, you're now the only dog in the room. And that's pretty fun.
It was very bizarre. I was literally going into these very swanky private parties with my dog.
Yeah.
It felt very surreal. I'm like, should I really be coming in here with my dog? I have a
great
great
black dress with my dog. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. All these, really fancy. It's like, that was really surreal. Yeah.
Cool. So you're back in Iowa. Out of the fame and fortune, what's your next project?
I'm hoping to, when things kind of slow down a little bit. We've still been doing, since we got home, we did about 3 weeks on the road for promotional stuff. We did 2 weeks in New York, and then we flew to LA, which was the first time that I've flown with a full grown Great Dane. That was pretty crazy. We got home and we started doing a lot of local stuff. We did some Q&As here. We've had Bleecker Street, the distribution owner of the film, did allowed for a private friends and family screening for me here in Iowa, which the directors and Bill Murray came for, which was really neat.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so we've had a lot of local activities too. And then we've done several fundraisers for various groups, which is really neat to be able to, help these organizations raise funds, and by donating some of our time. It's cool. It makes me very happy. So we've been actually fairly busy with that kind of stuff, but it has, starting to slow down a little bit. And I guess our next activity, when I can kind of pause and get my breath a little bit more, I would like to get his rally excellent title. That's our next goal.
Well, I don't know. Rally excellent after the Hollywood film. It seems
I know.
like a come down. I'm
Anticlimactic,
sorry.
baby, but-
Oh my God. Well, Bev, I love this story. I love everything about this story. And I am now going to have to go to the movies. Like, I watch them. I don't watch movies. So now I have a good reason to do it.
I hope you do, and I hope you enjoy it.
I am super excited.
Yeah, I'm biased, but I do love it. I think they did a great job, and it's still very bizarre to me to have so many people talking about my dog, and we all love our dogs so much,
Right.
and to have that kind of spill out into the world is just really fun.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Gotta have it. All right, you guys, it's called The Friend. It's apparently no longer in theaters because it's 2025 and it's already on your TV. So go find it. Bev, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.